My name is Jean-Yves Carpalès. I'm the new head of school for the French American School, and I'm very proud to introduce you to some of my students here. A little part of our choir. I would like to thank you, Tom, who is our music teacher, who put in place everything for this event today. Welcome to the Francophonie. Bienvenue à la Francophonie. I'm very happy to celebrate this important event with you today. Enjoy. Merci beaucoup.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to see all of you again, many familiar faces for this celebration of our ethnicity. This is a month where all of the ethnic groups of our state and of our country present the pride of their heritage, and I am very proud to be before you as a proud Frenchman. My name is Roger Beejan. I am the Honorary Consul of France in Rhode Island, and I am very proud to serve again for this occasion where we recognize and remember and celebrate who we are and all of the Francophonie. So thank you again all for being here. We have some distinguished guests who I'd like to invite to the podium to say a few words to bring their greetings. But before I do that, I think we should recognize and thank the French American School and the choir that sang for the great job. And there he is, the head of school. Not that you did all the singing, but to all of my students. And welcome, Jean-Yves. It's a pleasure to see you here, and thank you for the great work that you're doing at the school. And the tradition of the French American School in Rhode Island is one that we're all very proud of. So, again, it's very good. Well, first I would like to introduce, to say a few words on behalf of our state. We have our Lieutenant Governor. Now, many of us who are from the northern part of Rhode Island certainly know Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee from his earlier life as the mayor of the town of Cumberland. But today he serves as our Lieutenant Governor. He's a terrific guy and one that we expect to hear a great deal from. So it's my privilege to introduce Dan McKee, our Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you, Roger. And of course, Roger, former Lieutenant Governor of the state of Rhode Island, for anyone who may be in the audience that does not know that. It was not that long ago, Roger. I remember, and we have a business in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, which has a strong, French-Canadian influence. And I would always make sure I had a sign for Roger on that property. If you recall, your dad would always give me the buzz, and we would do that. But yes, as Lieutenant Governor, I just want to welcome everybody here today. And it's repeated over and over again, but it bears repeating that our strength is in our diversity. And to be able to be here today and get a phone call from Ann Conway, especially with the working museum that's up in Woonsocket, which I visited during the summer with Bob Billington, who's involved in the state and tourism. We honored his dad with a great award, right, in terms of his service in World War II. But I think that it's just very important to do what we're doing here today. I welcome you all here. I was just in Washington with the lieutenant governors, and I went to the embassy, the Canadian embassy, and they reminded us of how much interaction our economy is and how linked we truly are. And so that's one way that we do link with the French community in the state of Rhode Island, and not only the heritage but also the value of their economy that they represent in the state of Rhode Island. So, last week we celebrated the St. Paddy's Day, which I'm guilty, and also the St. Joseph Day. And today, what a great thing to be here today to welcome the French community and let them know that they're very, very welcome, and we appreciate everything that they contribute to our state of Rhode Island. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to introduce you to Teresa Paiva-Weed, President of the State Senate.
Good afternoon and welcome to the State House. It is a real honor to have the opportunity to be here today to address you and bring the greetings of the Rhode Island State Senate. I certainly recognize Lieutenant Governor, but we also have some other elected officials who have joined us here today. I'd ask they stand. There is, of course, Chairman of the Commerce Corporation in the Rhode Island State Senate, Roger Picard. Deputy Majority Leader Marc Cote. Representative Steve Casey is with us, and Representative Michael Moran. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and it is truly indicative of how important this event is for these individuals who, once again, were a part-time legislature to take time out and to be here today. Thank you, Roger. I did not know that you were an honorary consul of France here in Rhode Island, but very nice to have you back in the walls of the State House. And to all of our other invited guests, welcome. I do want to, it is, I said, my pleasure to welcome you all today. And certainly the history of the partnership between America and France dates back to colonial times. France is America's oldest ally. The Revolutionary War battles in which French soldiers participated included the struggle for my home, Newport. And as you drive along the harbor today in Newport, a beautiful statue of Rochambeau stands tall guarding our harbor. Rhode Island's connection with France dates back to 2.5 centuries before the Revolution. When the Florentine explorer Giovanni di Verranzo first laid eyes on Narragansett Bay, he was sailing under a French flag. During the American Industrial Revolution, which brings so many of our Northern Rhode Island friends here today, French Canadians left their homes in Quebec to work in the textile mills of Rhode Island and across New England. They spoke French at home. Life revolved around a strong family tradition and their Roman Catholic faith. Today, 2.5 centuries after the American Revolution, Rhode Island's kinship with France and Canada remains strong. Canada is actually one of America's largest export markets. Those of French and French-Canadian heritage are making their mark on every walk of life. French Canadians remain actually the largest ethnic group in Woonsocket. I do want to take a moment, though, to recognize the work of folks like the Consul of Canada, Frank Ruddock, Consul General of France, Fabien Fieschi, Delegate Marie-Claude, Françoeur. I'm Portuguese, please bear with my German. And, of course, Roger Beejan as well. And to also recognize Ann Conway, who I Where's Ann go? Oh, Ann, I know I had an opportunity to speak with before from the Museum of Work and Culture, and all of the members of the League in Rhode Island, including the Museum, the Alliance Française of Providence, the American Association of French Teachers of Rhode Island, the French-American School of Rhode Island, Flickers, the Rhode Island International Film Festival, and Les Club Richelieu of Woonsocket. How'd I do? Is that a little better? As we pause today to celebrate French and French-Canadian culture, it is my true honor to join you and welcome you here at the State House and look forward to strengthening a long-lasting friendship between our countries and between France, Canada, and the United States. Thank you.
Senator, thank you so much, and thank you for recalling that history of the friendship between France and the United States. And I was actually going to offer these comments at the conclusion, but I think it's appropriate to say this now, that that friendship between our countries goes back to the days of the American Revolution. And this year in particular will be a time where we will all have a chance to express, to remember that friendship, how old it is, and what it stands for. Back in the days of the American Revolution, when Lafayette came to the shores of the United States and to announce the French are coming, and thus with Rochambeau, General Rochambeau meeting General Washington, as the senator pointed out, in Newport, beginning the march to Yorktown was the turning point in the American Revolution. And so that friendship, that bond that was formed many years ago is one that endures and remains strong today. But that ship that carried Lafayette is a ship called the Limani, and a replica of that ship has been built, and it is going to be sailing to the United States this summer. And I will tell you, and Senator Weed, I'm going to ask, I'll make sure that you get it in your calendar, because on July 8th and 9th, Newport will be hosting the presence of the Limani, and there will be many activities and events to commemorate that partnership, that friendship, and one that we're looking forward to celebrating. But what's interesting about this sail is that it's coming to the United States, the Limani. It's going to follow the course in reverse order. It's going to start at the end, Yorktown, Virginia, and and then work its way north. On July 4th, the important date in the United States history, it is going to be in New York, and then immediately following that, it's going to come across to be in Newport, then go to Boston, then up to Castine, Maine, before it begins sail back to France. So that's going to be really a wonderful occasion that I'm sure all of you will want to be part of and see when it's here. Next, I'd like to introduce State Representative Steve Casey, who is going to say a few words on behalf of the House of Representatives. Representative Casey.
Thank you, Roger. And Madam President, you're a tough act to follow. You introduced the entire Woonsocket, Rhode Island delegation to the State House, and I appreciate you doing that ahead of time. So, as well from the Northern Rhode Island delegation, bienvenue à Rhode Island, bienvenue à Woonsocket. That is the extent of my French-speaking language. I married a French-Canadian lady named Desiel, my wife Deborah, but that's all I can do for French so far. On behalf of the Speaker of the House and the Leader, John D. Simone, as well as the Minority Leader, Brian Newberry, I have a citation to present to Dominique Grégoire, President of the Alliance Française of Providence. And also I have another citation for the League of Francophone Organizations. They do read the same, so I will just have them, I will read one and present both at the same time. Dominique, thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Be it hereby known to all that the Rhode Island House of Representatives hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to the League of Francophone Organizations in Rhode Island in recognition of the Francophone flag-raising ceremony at the Rhode Island State House and celebrating the rich and diverse Francophone culture customs, and values in the state of Rhode Island, given this 26th day of March, 2015, signed by Speaker of the House Nicholas Mattiello, Majority Leader John D. Simone, and Minority Leader Brian Newberry, and sponsored by all three representatives from Woonsocket, myself, Representative Michael Moran, and Representative Bob Phillips, who could not be here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Roger. I hope everybody has a very enjoyable day.
I understand that State Senator Roger Picard also has a citation that he'd like to present. I'd like to introduce him, and Senator Marc Cote.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Roger Picard, and that's about as much French I'm going to try. Even though I have a little bit more, I think if I tried it, I might create a diplomatic crisis going forward by saying something out of context. Welcome to everybody here. The French culture, the French language, my French heritage is very important to me. And Madam President was up here speaking of the influence of the French Canadian. She was talking about my family. My great-grandfather migrated from France into Canada, and then from Canada down to Woonsocket, where they worked in the mills. My mom, who will be 92 on Tuesday, she worked in the mills when she was 12 years old, before all the labor laws and stuff. But even while she did that, she held together the family as she got older. She had 6 children, instilled into all of us strong family ties, strong faith, and did her best with the French language. My 4 older brothers and sisters speak it very well. I, not so much. But on behalf of the State Senate, I'd like to say thank you. And we have Senator Cote who's going to make a presentation.
Bonjour, mes amis. I'm also pleased to be here today, and just wanted to mention that I really have come to appreciate my heritage and cultural history, having a great asset in the city of Woonsocket being the American French Genealogical Society. And I spent quite a bit of time a few years ago studying my heritage and roots and learning about the 2-month voyage from France to New France, and even finding out that I share a common grandfather with Anne Conway. But we certainly, on behalf of the Senate, appreciate all that you do celebrating the Francophonie Day and the celebration of our culture and our language. And I have a presentation that I'd like to provide to the League of Francophone Organizations of Rhode Island in recognition of your efforts to celebrate the richness of the French culture and heritage of our state. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued good fortune. Signed by Senator Paiva-Weed, Majority Leader Ruggiero, Senator Picard, and myself. Dominique?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But we're also very pleased this afternoon, as we have in the past, to have dignitaries, representatives from our governments, from our neighboring governments, to here to enjoy the celebration, to share some thoughts with us. First, I'd like to introduce Frank Ruddock. Frank is the Consul of Canada in charge of the foreign policy and diplomacy at the Consulate of Canada. So Frank, why don't you please come up and say a few words.
Thank you. Lieutenant Governor, Senate President Paiva-Weed, Representative Casey, ladies and gentlemen, on est très heureux de célébrer avec vous à Providence aujourd'hui la francophonie. We are pleased to be here in Providence today to celebrate the francophonie with you. New France, and La Nouvelle France, as we call it, centered on Quebec, was the foundation of Canada and a key part of our heritage and our history. French is an official language of Canada. Francophones represent almost a quarter of the Canadian population, just under 7.7 million people. Many more Canadians speak French at home as a second language. Canada's Francophone community is therefore an integral part of the Canadian identity. Canada's participation in La Francophonie highlights our country's linguistic duality and its commitment to international cooperation and the shared values of the Francophone world. As you know, and as previous speakers have said, many New Englanders are of French-Canadian descent, which can be seen in communities throughout New England and in Woonsocket, as you mentioned. This link is important historically, but it is also relevant today as we seek to take advantage of the connections to strengthen our cross-border relationship and grow our economies. As the Lieutenant Governor mentioned, trade between Rhode Island and Canada is very important. The trade relationship now stands at $891 million annually. An estimated 27,000 jobs in Rhode Island depend on trade and investment with Canada. Canada is Rhode Island's largest export market, and Rhode Island sells more goods to Canada than to the state's next 3 largest markets combined. We at the Consulate General are continuing to work to expand this type of mutually beneficial trade and investment. And our common Francophone heritage provides yet another platform which we can use to accomplish this. Alors, j'aimerais vous souhaiter une très bonne journée de la francophonie, Rhode Island. Thank you, best wishes on celebrating Francophone Day, and thank you to Mr. Bégin and Anne Conway for the very warm
It's my privilege to introduce him to you, Fabien Fieschi, the Consul General of France.
Monsieur le lieutenant-gouverneur McKee, Madame la sénatrice Paiva-Weed, Monsieur le représentant Casey, sénateur Picard et Marc, Messieurs et Mesdames les représentants, cher Roger Bégin, Monsieur le Consul Ruddock, cher Marie-Claude Francoeur et chers amis de la francophonie, il y a tellement d'amis parmi vous, effectivement, au cours de ces 3 dernières années. C'est vraiment un grand plaisir pour moi de participer ici à Providence à cette cérémonie célébrant la francophonie dans le Rhode Island. The raising of the flag of Francophonie in Rhode Island is a celebration of the important contributions that people of French descent or from French-speaking cultures have brought over the centuries and continue to bring today to the wealth and cultural diversity of this state. From the early French settlers to the wave of French Canadians, workers during the Industrial Revolution, to the more recent immigrants from Haiti or Western Africa, there is an estimated 2 million people who speak French at home in the United States. And of course, as has been mentioned, Rhode Island is a state with a high rate of people of French descent and of French speakers. And as was also mentioned, this is a state where the bonds of friendship between France and the United States almost started, whereas it's in Newport, a few blocks away from here on Brown University campus, where the French forces had their field hospital. The starting point of the Washington-Rochambeau revolutionary route. There are so many landmarks that remind us of this friendship and of this very important relation that was built between France and the United States here in Rhode Island. So Francophonie is, of course, about language, it's about heritage, and it's about culture. But today speaking French is also about connecting and exchanging ideas in the same language with more than 200 million people all over the world. It's about academic collaboration and scientific cooperation. It's about opportunities for business and jobs with the many French and Canadian businesses that have invested in Rhode Island. And I remember visiting with Roger and inaugurating, for example, the new headquarters of Simulia, a local company that is owned by the French company Dassault Systèmes, or visiting some of the facilities of Schneider Electric, another French company which is a big employer in Rhode Island. So this this Francophonie is not only about culture, it's also about the economy and about the exchange we have together. As was mentioned by Roger earlier, 2015 will be a great occasion to celebrate the relations between France and the United States. In France, we don't forget that 70 years ago, this year we'll celebrate the anniversary of the end of World War II, the 70th anniversary, and we don't forget that this freedom that we can enjoy in Europe, we also owe it partly to the tremendous effort and sacrifice that went into our liberation by the American and Canadian troops, indeed. So we are very grateful for that. We will also celebrate the first alliance between France and the United States this summer in Newport, in Boston, in Castine, in many other places on the East Coast, when the L'Hermione, the ship that brought Lafayette to the United States, on his very important mission, the replica will come. This will be a huge celebration. And it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. Here in Rhode Island, the celebration of the month of Francophonie include lectures, arts exhibitions, music concerts, film screenings, and cuisine. I thank all the associations and volunteers for their dedication, in particular our good friends at l'Alliance Française, cher Dominique, Grégoire, the French-American School of Rhode Island, and merci à tous les enfants pour leur magnifique chanson. Thank you to all the students for their wonderful songs earlier this afternoon. The Rhode Island Historical Society also, of course, and many others. So please enjoy the many events in French organized during this month of Francophonie in Rhode Island. Et donc à tous les francophones du Rhode Island, qu'ils soient français, francophones d'origine, francophones d'adoption, amis de la langue française, je veux souhaiter de bonnes festivités. Parlez français, speak French. Soyez fiers d'être francophone, be proud to be francophone. Partagez le plaisir de la langue française. Share the pleasure of speaking French. Amusez-vous et longue vie à la francophonie dans le Rhode Island. Merci beaucoup.
Representing the province of Quebec is the delegate in New England, Marie-Claude Francoeur.
Monsieur le lieutenant-gouverneur, Madame la présidente du Sénat, chers amis, Messieurs les représentants, Messieurs les sénateurs, distingués invités, it's a real pleasure for me to be here today. And before I start going into what has been written, I will tell you an unwritten story. We've been talking about the friendship between Quebec and Rhode Island, and we've also talked about some of the traits of character of French Canadians. And we're all very close to our family, and I'm no exception to that. I live in Boston, my mom and dad are in Quebec City, and I miss them. And finally, after a year, my mother is going to come to visit in June. So I put this program for her together. So I'm going to take her to the museum in Boston. I'm going to be taking her all around Boston. And while I'm presenting this to her on the phone, I hear nothing. There's no, yes, I'm so happy, I'm so thrilled. And all of a sudden I said, Mom, why am I not getting any enthusiasm? Aren't you happy to come and visit me in Boston? And she goes, well, one thing I would really like to do when I'm there is to go see Anne Conway at the Museum of Art and Working Culture in Rhode Island. So I said, Mom, I will put that on the program and we will go see Anne Conway. So, not only in big institutions do we have close relationships, but also in smaller ones that are very meaningful. Alors, c'est un plaisir pour moi d'être ici à titre de représentante du Québec en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Thank you, member of the legislature, and I will not go through the list again. Thank you for your support and for hosting us today. It is an honor to be here. Un merci tout spécial aussi à la Ligue des organisations francophones du Rhode Island pour la coordination de cet événement. This year, the Quebec Government Office in Boston celebrates its 45th anniversary. As it is the case in any milestone, this anniversary is an opportunity to reflect on our past and to look at our future. Throughout the past 45 years, our missions have evolved, but our core values and fundamental vision have remained. Throughout cultural and commercial exchanges, Quebec and Rhode Island have developed a strong relationship. driven by common goals and values. We look forward to pursuing this friendship and working together on important issues such as the trade corridor, energy, and the fight against climate change. La promotion et le rayonnement de la langue française ont toujours été importants pour le gouvernement du Québec et ont guidé nos actions en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Quebec is proud to be part of la francophonie. For us, la francophonie is more than a forum to express our voice. It is a family, a space for solidarity, and a collaboration around a shared language, shared values, and in the case of Rhode Island, a shared heritage. Indeed, about 30% of New Englanders have Quebec roots, and Rhode Island's population is partly composed of sons, daughters, and grandchildren of those French Canadians who migrated at the turn of the 20th century and who brought a significant contribution to the region. While it is essential to continue celebrating our heritage, it is important to ensure the vitality of la francophonie by working actively at preventing isolation and at nurturing the francophone community and lovers of the French language. Supporting community activities is a way to just do that. Throughout the month of la francophonie, the Quebec office was very pleased to partner with the Museum of Working Culture for Ciné-Québec and for a screening of the documentary Un rêve américain, An American Dream, and with the Alliance Française for this weekend's Francofête. Today, as we look towards our future, we have to recognize the economic potential and benefits for New Englanders to learn and speak French. The Mayor of Quebec City, together with the Mayors Lafayette in Louisiana, Moncton in New Brunswick, understand the economic value of such an heritage and have joined forces to establish an extended network of American cities, of Francophone and Francophile cities. By joining the network, the cities will share their common history, heritage, and expertise, while also jointly promoting their city as a tourist destination. Many cities in Rhode Island have been invited, and hopefully they will join in this wonderful initiative. On that note, I would like to congratulate the vibrant Francophone community of Rhode Island for its efforts to promote la francophonie and its relentless advocacy of the importance and the relevance of the French language. You can be assured of the continued support of the Quebec government. Here is to you, to Rhode Island, and to another 45 years of friendship. Merci à tous.
Thank you very much. You know, on a day like today, we pause to celebrate and to be together in different countries and to recognize this day. But there's an organization in Rhode Island that's purpose, whose whole mission, every day, throughout the year, 365 days a year, is intended to celebrate French culture, even French cuisine. And we have the gentleman who has been a big part of the success of the thriving organization of the Alliance Française in Providence, Dominique Grégoire. And Dominique is here not only as president of the Alliance, but also representing the League of Francophone Organizations of Rhode Island. Dominique?
Thank you, Roger. Bonsoir à tous. Bonjour, monsieur le lieutenant-gouverneur, madame Paiva-Weed, messieurs les sénateurs et représentants de l'État, monsieur le consul du Canada. So we have gathered here to celebrate la francophonie. I call it the Commonwealth of Language, 50 nations that are united by their attachment to a common cultural bond, yet so diverse in their history, their accents, and the physical beauty of their children. From the shores of the St. Lawrence to the deserts of Mali, from Port-au-Prince to Beirut, in March, we celebrate the 50 Shades of France. We have gathered to celebrate also the 120,000 men and women whose name attests of their French descent here in Rhode Island. The Picard, the Lamoureuses, the Bousquets, the Potiers, left the snows of Trois-Rivières, Saguenay, or La Beauce for more snow in the Blackstone Valley, and contributed to the wealth of this state. Today also, Fred Lafortune, Réginald d'Almonacci, Henriot Bélisaire, Marguerite Albert have left their Haitian shores to tend to our elderly, create businesses, and sing their poetry. Today, from Morocco, Mohamed Sefani opens Tea in the Sahara on the east side. In his cafe on Wayland Square, l'artisan is from Lebanon and speaks French. My neighbor, Suad, from Morocco, helps drug users at Kodak. They're here around us, the new faces of the French immigration. So we've gathered also here today to celebrate those among you who every day keep the French culture and language alive. They've already been mentioned, but I'll do it again. Merci Anne Conway at the Museum of the Rhode Island and the Rhode Island Historical Society, for Ciné Québec, for Bonjour Printemps, pour les chansons de José Vachon. Merci Jean-Yves Carpanez et son équipe at the French American School for preparing future generations of men and women who will speak the language of courtly love. Merci URI, merci Salve Regina, Brown University, Rhode Island College for running 5 French film festivals at the same time in February and March, plus one at the museum. Merci also to Roger Begin, okay, because you do a lot, okay. You are the linchpin right now for this Hermione celebration, and it's a pleasure to work with you every day, okay. Merci to my team also at the Alliance Française. I got to toot my horn here a little bit for our thriving language center right here on Smith Street, where adults can connect and reconnect with their French, prepare to visit Paris or the Mont Saint-Michel with 86 million other people from the world. Merci, Michael Hébert, I see you over there, for all your efforts with the French Teachers Association to open the mind of young teenagers to another language and another culture. Every year, all your teachers bring 1,200 students to participate in the National French Contest, that's in Rhode Island only, otherwise known as the Grand Concours. We do need our kids to learn languages. But why French? That's the question. Well, Forbes magazine just predicted that French would be the dominant language in 2050 due to the rise of Africa as an economic powerhouse. So that gives you a lot of time to learn the language. But a few months ago, attacking New York City's bilingual education program, a newspaper writer of the New Republic wrote an article which went viral on the internet immediately. Let's stop pretending that French is an important language, it said. Well, let's be honest, this guy had a point. Napoleon has been dead for 200 years, and France is no longer a geopolitical superpower. However, to paraphrase Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message. What is important in our world today is the message that the language carries, and from that standpoint, any language is important. In our world today, the French message is that of the Enlightenment. When the freedom of expression was assassinated in Paris in January, the world rallied behind Je suis Charlie. To the extremists of all stripes, the universal French message was that of the quiet strength of tolerance. We've had a lot of history all around. On March 24th, 1572, in one night, 30,000 Huguenots were killed and dismembered in the streets of Paris by hordes of Catholic fanatics. It took an enlightened king, le bon roi Henri, to stop the bloodshed. On November 9, 1938, the Nazis burned the books, destroyed the synagogues, and proceeded to kill 6 million Jews. On April 17, 1975, in Cambodia, the Khmer Rouge emptied the city of Phnom Penh, exiled all the intellectuals in the rice paddies, and proceeded to torture and kill 2 million of their own people. So, today, a new brand of fanatics, but they all have the same face, destroy the mausoleums in Timbuktu, the statues of Buddha, and the gods of Assyria. They behead and kill innocent people in Paris, Copenhagen, Tunis, Mosul, Syria, and Iraq. What is coming next? Therefore, I would argue that the French message of enlightenment has never been more important than now. That by bestowing the 2014 Nobel Prize of Literature to French writer Patrick Modiano, this apostle of memory, the committee recognized that we cannot forget that any language with a message of peace is important in today's world. That is why in a few minutes, with my friends here of the choral group of the Alliance Française, we will sing for you the yearning for love of the men who were engulfed in the World War I butchery. That is why, and I repeat, on July 8th at 2 p.m., the ship Hermione will sail into Newport Harbor. You're all invited. There will be a big celebration at night at Ocre Court, organized by all the Alliance Française of the area, and also at Ocean Cliff in Newport, you will be able to watch the ship coming in. What better symbol could we imagine to remind us on both sides of the Atlantic of our common bonds, and that together we can build a commonwealth of freedom and tolerance. Thank you.
As others have said, how terrific it is that to have our teachers who are teaching the next generation, teaching them the language, helping, trying to instill in them the culture. And it's so great to have Michel here with his group of students. Michel, why don't you come up here and I'll let you introduce your students from Classical High School, who I think will be reciting a poem for us.
Bonjour tout le monde, bonjour mes collègues de la francophonie ainsi que les représentants du Rhode Island de la part de l'Association américaine des professeurs de français. Je vous souhaite vous tous une très bonne fête de la francophonie. I'm honored to be here once again this year on behalf of the American Association of Teachers of French to celebrate Francophonie in Rhode Island. Of course, French is an international language, and the many Francophone cultures are important parts of the formation of our students in this age of globalization. Indeed, the students will see a world which will require a certain kind of cultural and linguistic literacy beyond their native knowledge. And with the tremendous current and projected growth of Francophones around the globe, French and Francophone studies are able to offer students access to greater professional opportunities in business, medicine, diplomacy, for example, as well as those aspects of life that make it so enjoyable. For example, cinema, travel, literature, music, sport, the Olympics, among other reasons that are shaping our world in the 21st century. If you remember, I had the pleasure of being here in 2010, along with a class from Classical High School, and I'm very happy to be back there. And I brought along with me some of my students from la classe de français 4 AP, Advanced Placement. Would you say hello to them for me? Back in 2010, the students at the time had composed a poem called L'Alphabet de la Francophonie, if you remember. And given that Classical is returning to make a presentation this year, we thought we'd do a little reprise. But call it L'Alphabet de la Francophonie 2015. So that's what we're going to do this afternoon. First, I'm going to present each of them. They're going to say bonjour, salut, comment ça va, some kind of phrase. So alors, mesdames et messieurs, je vous présente les élèves de français 4 AP de Classical High School. First we have Brigitte Azonier. Next, Genesis Carrela. Bailey Cotter. Nicole Cruz. Zach Gamble. Carlos Xavier. Sophie Lelias. Chloe Mering, Ashley Soto, Eve Stein, and I call him Henri Young, and Funibi Yusuf. And did I forget you? Can you imagine? Anna Mejia, excuse me. Ok. Alors, on va réciter un poème intitulé L'Alphabet de la Francophonie 2015. Et on va commencer, je crois, avec A, n'est-ce pas? Ok. Allez-y.
A comme amitié francophone.
B comme branché sur la langue française.
C comme camaraderie entre les francophones. D comme différence entre les gens.
E comme l'élégance de la langue française.
F comme francophonie.
G comme grand zoo de la francophonie.
H comme hockey, sport national du Québec.
I comme l'indépendance.
J comme les jardins pour les cultures francophonie.
K comme kilomètres qui nous séparent.
L pour liberté des idées. M comme manger un bon fromage français.
N comme nombre de francophones au monde, donc 270 millions.
U comme ouvert à tout le monde.
P comme pamplemousse.
Q comme Québec, province francophone de Canada.
R comme respect pour tout le monde.
S comme Stromae, chanteur belge.
T comme tolérance.
E comme unité des pays francophones. V comme vive la francophonie.
W comme Wallonie, région francophone en Belgique.
X comme xylophone parce que très peu de mots commencent avec la lettre X.
Y comme les yeux, les fenêtres de l'âme.
Et Z comme zeste pour la vie.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonne fête à la francophonie.
OK, c'est pas mal, hein? OK, très bien. Merci beaucoup, une nouvelle fois, et passez une bonne fête à la francophonie. À la prochaine. Bye.
Thank you very much, Michel, and to all of the students from Classical High School. Once again, let's give a round of applause for all the students. And now to conclude our program, we have the choir of the Alliance Française, who is going to entertain us with some closing songs.